The Vindicator-class heavy cruiser was a capable design of warship introduced by the Galactic Empire roughly a decade before the Battle of Yavin. The ship was intended to replace several older pre-Clone Wars designs which had been carried over from the Republic's navy by the New Order, but these were beginning to show their age. Foremost among the designs the Empire was looking to replace were the Dreadnought class and its many derivatives. The ship measures in at 600 meters long, is 200 meters wide, and 80 tall. Typically, a Vindicator has a crew of roughly 2,500, though it can carry many more when needed. With its Class II hyperdrive, the Vindicator could easily keep up with other Imperial warships or operate independently on its own at long distances from the remainder of the fleet. For armament, the vessel features 25 twin turbo-laser batteries, 20 quad Flak turbo lasers, 10 point defense Flak guns, mostly located around the bridge tower, several ion cannons and tractor beam projectors as well are carried, mostly on the leading edge of the forward hull. For fighters, a Vindicator typically carries 24 craft. Normally 16 TIE LN fighters and 8 TIE BN light bombers, though mixes of these and other types could also be done and were commonly seen. The Vindicator program, or rather what would become the Vindicator, started life after an internal naval review concluded in 13 BBY. It pointed out the difficulty and complexity of maintaining the current fleet of mixed heavy cruiser designs then serving, and called for the introduction of a singular new design to fill in for these designs, thus greatly easing the strain on Imperial logistics and supply bases, which prior to this had to maintain large stockpiles of mostly obsolete parts and components that were decades out of production. The new ship was desired to be of a suitable size to engage most vessels it would be likely to encounter, and it was meant to serve primarily as a long-distance patrol ship, assigned to serve primarily in the Outer Rim, though it could also see service in the core as escorts for larger capital ships and as scouts for these formations. The Imperial Navy took this paper and ran with it, beginning design of a new ship which was completed in short order, using many related components to the then-new Imperial class of Star Destroyer. By 9 BBY, Vindicators were equipping dozens of squadrons within the fleet, being dispersed throughout the Outer Rim for a testing phase. It being common for the Empire to introduce small numbers of pre-production vessels of a class to work out any bugs or defects before moving on to full production after this was done and the problems were fixed. The testing phase concluded without any major issues being discovered. The design was found to be comfortable for the crew and low maintenance. However, further production orders were never placed due to an all-too-common shift in Imperial naval doctrine, which called for larger numbers of smaller ships to be used to perform the same roles instead. The Vindicators which were built were well-liked and well-regarded in service, both by their crews, who appreciated the ship's comfortable quarters, as well as Imperial commanders, who enjoyed the ship's decent firepower and appreciable speed. Oddly enough, by the time just before the Battle of Endor, the Imperial Navy had once again changed direction and was now looking at the introduction of a further modification of the Vindicator design, or else a new class to fill largely the same role. These plans were shelved with the death of the Emperor above Endor and the collapse of Imperial government into infighting warlord factions and successor states. Post-Endor, many Vindicators found their way into the hands of warlords, quickly becoming potent forces in their own right, especially as the cost associated with keeping full Star Destroyers in service added up, and led to all but the largest post-Imperial factions to retire them, forcibly, or after they broke due to neglect and an inability to maintain them. The New Republic also captured many Vindicators, though few of these ships remained in their service due to differences in materials from typical New Republic vessels and difficulty in sourcing new components. By 30 BBY, few of these exceptional heavy cruisers remained in service with any major faction. Common to many other outstanding Imperial designs, the Vindicator failed to see widespread service due to not to failures in its design, but rather politics. The few ships which were built were well liked, but in numbers too few to have an impact on the galactic civil war were they ordered. The majority of these images are from the mind of the amazing Fractal Sponge. Links to his work in the description, and many thanks to him for bringing this amazing ship to life, as there are sadly very few renders of this ship aside from his own and a few grainy images from video games.